They present an impasse, and it is the presence of these afflictive emotions that makes our mind totally disturbed. Therefore, we are like a person on a precipice. The commentary of individual arising explains this arising of compositional suffering as ignorance, which is the controller of the three realms of existence. Ignorance is total confusion. Because of this ignorance, there is no lasting peace and happiness. Therefore, see all wandering beings as being immersed in misery. Think that they are all like you and don't deserve suffering at all. Alas, all my beloved sentient beings are in such pain. What can I do to set them free and take on the suffering as your own, whether you are engaged in meditation or in pursuing ordinary activities? Meditate on compassion at all times. Focus on all sentient beings and wish that they all sentient beings be free of suffering and afflictive emotions. Begin by meditating on friends and relatives and reflect on how the experience of the various sufferings that have been explained, having seen all sentient beings as equal, with no differences between them, we should meditate on all sentient beings to whom we are indifferent. And the compassion we feel in terms of this is the same as towards our friends and relatives. Meditate on compassion for all sentient beings. In all 10 directions of the universe. All sentient beings should be seen from the same perspective, as if they have been your friends for a long time, as if they have been your enemies for a long time, as if they have been neutral sentient beings for a long time.
ngaranzu chadang lo kebe nega la ku tenzing ku chwa chene kebe yinza lo te zindang la ya danyen tan da ba ji le xing du wa sa de yin ba yin du sa ne danyen tan da ba shen be lo da la tan dam nyem ni de ko ba yin na tan da ba shen ba de lo ko ne du wa de lo ne be ko ne eni sem nya ba yo ya le pen da shi yong sa le. It
is helpful to reflect on our ultimate sameness, because all afflictive emotions arise from ignorance. Just as a mother is compassionate to her small, beloved, and suffering child, when you develop spontaneous sense of compassion and towards all sentient beings, you have perfected the practice of compassion. This is the main aspect of compassion. Meditate on loving kindness, which begins with your friends and people who you are fond of, your natural wish that they meet with happiness, and then gradually extend your meditation to include strangers and even your enemies. Habituate yourself with compassion in your mind, and you will gradually generate the spirit that you wish to liberate all sentient beings. Therefore, having family arising, compassion, is the basis. Meditate on awakening the mind of bodhicitta. In the sutra, it is said, do not commit negative deeds apart from all virtuous deeds. Completely transform your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. The reason is not that the Buddha said we should abandon these negative deeds. We need to abandon these negative deeds because we want to avoid suffering. And it is for this reason that the Buddha advised us not to perform negative deeds. And the second line reads, you should engage in all perfect virtuous deeds. That means engaging in positive actions, motivation should be good, and your virtuous and positive actions should not be motivated by negative motivations, or wishing to disapprove of others. Even if you have negative motivations, even if you talk nicely and sweetly to others, your external behavior will become just an act. So one should express worldly and physically in a positive way, motivated by a sense of altruism, a sense of wishing to benefit other sentient beings. It is in this way that you perform and accumulate positive actions. We need to perform such virtuous actions because what we want is happiness. Therefore, the third line reads, you should discipline your mind completely. And now the question is, what are the factors that make our minds undisciplined? It is not an external condition factor. It is very much dependent upon how you think. Normally, when we get angry, we would lay the blame on others. It is he or she who's angered me. But if you reflect carefully, that external person is activated by negative afflicted emotions residing in the mind of that person, just as you have no control over yourself because of afflictive emotions. Similarly, it is the case with other people. If you're able to understand such a situation, then in respect to your environment, you will be able to stop developing afflictive emotions. So the main cause of afflictive emotions resides within us and not outside. Therefore, the Buddha said you should completely discipline your mind.
나서 자국이 세네 세대기 요 말와 단데 곡도 가르쳐 버려 된 곡도데 야 뉴몬다 그 뉴몬기 뉴몬치라고
Therefore, it is important to find out how these afflictive emotions are realized and how they can be eliminated in thought, and what kind of positive counterforces need to be developed, so that therefore the Buddha advises us completely discipline your mind. In this way, you should see afflictive emotions as destructive, as your enemies, and therefore gaining control over afflictive emotions is a teaching of the Buddha. Kamala Shila is a disciple of Shanktarik Shita, and according to his instruction, he visited Tibet. And it seems that all these three stages of meditation are composed by this great Indian master, Kamala Shila, in Tibet. So this text has a special connection with these people. Irrespective of how much we are able to practice, we are Mahayana followers of the Mahayana teaching. So therefore we talk about the liberation of all sentient beings. The problem of our attitude and practice is that when we talk about the well-being of sentient beings, we tend to think that the sentient beings are far away from us. But for those people who live with us and stay with us, we forget to include them among the sentient beings, and we engage in fighting and falling out with these people. It is important that you should develop compassion arising about various individuals, and similarly, you should meditate on loving kindness. Habituating yourself with compassion, you will gradually generate a spontaneous wish to liberate all sentient beings. Therefore, familiarize yourself with compassion as the basis, and meditate on the awakening mind of bodhicitta. When you develop such a strong sense of compassion for other sentient beings, you will be able to develop a strong wish that they be liberated from suffering. Then you will develop a strong sense of responsibility, thinking that you yourself will take on the responsibility of liberating other sentient beings from their suffering. So when you develop such mental courage, that is called special attitude. Therefore, in order to fully empower yourself to help other sentient beings, you should yourself achieve enlightenment, or the state of Buddhahood, where you have eliminated all the faults and actualized all the positive qualities. Once you achieve that ultimate state of realization, you will then be able to truly help. In this way, you will see that in order to actually help other sentient beings, you must first cleanse yourself, purify yourself, and activate yourself with omniscience. The Sanskrit word for the Tibetan words chan, chup, is bodhi. So the word chan means to purify, having eliminated all the mental defilements. And chup means eliminate obstructions. Since the purification is done on the mind, it is through this purification that one is able to purify all obstructions and hindrances that in turn obstruct the true capacity of the mind. Once all the obstructions and hindrances of the mind are eliminated, then the mind is able to realize all existing phenomena. So that is the way of Chop. Therefore, Buddhahood is a state where all the negative defilements are removed and all the positive qualities are achieved and actualized. Chan Chop also refers to 3 stages of realizations: the enlightenment and the state of Asawakayana, enlightenment and the state of Partika Buddhayana, and enlightenment and the state of Buddhahood. Therefore, the state of Buddhahood is called the Great Enlightenment, or Chen Chip Chenpo. The benefit and quality of bodhicitta cannot be explained in words. By developing bodhicitta, you can eliminate all obstructions, hindrances, negative experiences, and so forth. And it is also the source of all positive experiences and happiness. In this practice of exchanging oneself for others, you can see the countless benefits of developing a mind benefiting other sentient beings. And similarly, you will see the demerits and shortcomings and the faults of self-serving attitude. In this way, you practice exchanging oneself for other sentient beings. Of course, the karma accumulated by each individual must be experienced by that individual, and you cannot change it. We want to talk about the negative consequences that you have to encounter in countless lives to come. Even in this life, if you are a liar, if you are a deceiver, if you are a thief, then even your closest relatives and friends get tired of you, and they will stay away from you. Similarly, it is the case between nations. And relations are established so that just as you want prosperity in your nation, similarly, it is the case with other nations. When seen from that perspective, it is unfortunate that today we employ force and power in destroying the peace and the prosperity of other nations. Once you employ military establishment, how unfortunate when war develops, and one sends 10,000 armies, and then the conflicting vision of war starts increasing. It is like keeping the fire alive by putting more and more fuel on it. You send more and more armies as fuel, and then the flame is kept alive. How unfortunate. Then these ordinary armies are duped by saying that you were doing this for the people, for the nation, and for the welfare of all people. And yet, you are destroying their lives. This is extremely unfortunate. If it is true that we are able to solve human problems, then there's one alternative. Are we able to sort out the problems of warring and killing? It is not possible. We've had world wars and were unable to solve the problem. We couldn't. All these negative activities arise because of this strong self-cherishing attitude, this notion of seeing yourself as someone very important. All the inauspicious happenings throughout the world are the result of strong self-cherishing attitudes. When you have strong self-cherishing attitudes, you seek the friendship and support of hatred, anger, jealousy, attachment, greed, and so forth. Here in the text, it says that all suffering arises from this longing for personal peace and happiness. When you're totally confused about your personal well-being, then you are unable to develop compassion, and you are unable to develop a strong sense of responsibility. And it is because of this personal desire for well-being. Even when you seek liberation, You seek it only for yourself.
샤나 대화청의 과정도 연구를 해. 닝지 삼바서도 연구를 해. 이내 배 닝지 첨부 현재 쿠르제 학생들은 이제 게임부터 보셔야지. 뒤게임에 아니 터도디 시워 차식으로 통해 버려. 여기 저분아야 년도 고번이 좋았어. 가서 끊이나 그러시니 이게 저분도와 어디나 년도 고번 사줘 알았어. 끊이나 송다는 세비는 딘둥이 차드마 루두가 저상가 차 루가 그걸 1년도 거버디 펼칠 빠지야 좋아서
The Sarupa Mahayana Buddhists were completely absorbed in meditation, but they were unable to reach enlightenment because they fall into the extreme of personal solitary peace. They are satisfied with their personal solitary peace because of the presence of a self-satisfied attitude. Therefore, all the suffering and undesirable happenings are the result of a pursuit of personal well-being. The great Bodhisattva Tormisan has composed this text when he was visiting an area called De in the upper part of Tibet. He had some offerings, and when he was traveling with the offerings, on the way, some robbers robbed the offerings he was carrying with him. When the Bodhisattva saw the robbers moving towards the area of his sponsors, he shouted at them, "You should not go this way. If my sponsors and benefactors know about this, you will have great difficulties. Therefore, you should go a different way." How wonderful that we are so compassionate and kind even to those who have robbed him. His Holiness is making a joke. He said that it would have been much better for the Bodhisattva if he had readily offered the offerings he was carrying without letting the robbers rob him. If he had offered in the beginning, he wouldn't have given the robbers the chance to rob him. But of course, I'm joking. The next words read that even when you don't have the slightest fault, if someone cuts you or cuts your head, even to such a person, out of compassion, you should receive the negative deeds of that person upon yourself. That is the practice of a bodhisattva. I will tell you a story here. Achali was the tutor of the Panchen Lama around 1958 or 1959 when the Chinese imprisoned hundreds or thousands of monks or sanghas and nuns, and the abbot was also there with the rest of the monks. He was given capital punishment by the Chinese, and when this abbot, when he was just about to be shot by the Chinese army, started praying, "May I be able to take onto myself all of the sufferings of all sentient beings." How wonderful. Some people might see that as a silly act, but then you can imagine that the abbot becoming very angry on that spot. But he was very cool and compassionate and did his last prayer saying, that I may be able to take onto myself the sufferings of all sentient beings. This is an example of a great practitioner. And here also it is said that even if someone cuts your head, when you have no fault at all, even to such a person, you should show compassion. That is the practice of a bodhisattva. The unraveling of the thought process of Maitreya. You must know that all the precious dharmas of Heras, Bodhisattvas, and Tathagatas, whether worldly or transcendental, are the fruits of calm, abiding meditation, and especially inside. Here, calm, abiding meditation, especially when it's inside, means a stabilizing meditation and a special repository of analytical wisdom. In fact, the very words calmly abiding mind means first that you should calm your mind from getting distracted by other objects, and then let it abide on the chosen object. That is the meaning of calm abiding mind or calm abiding meditation. Once you engage in that type of calmly abiding meditation, then you achieve what we call physical landsea. Especially inside it is an analytical meditation. Do not let your mind stay one-pointed only on that object, but engage in further investigation about the features, nature, and characteristics of that object. That is the meaning of analytical meditation. Meditation is a cause of liberation, and no other cause can bring peace. By meditating on the selflessness of personal phenomena, you achieve liberation. Here, liberation is treated as the result, and the cause of that resultant liberation is the meditation on the selflessness of personal phenomena. If you get satisfied only by meditative stabilization, you will not get liberated from samsara. For this reason, those who wish to attain the totally purified transcendental wisdom by eliminating all obscurations should meditate on wisdom while remaining in calm, abiding meditation. Meditation on emptiness is also possible through a stage-by-stage process. It is first by hearing, and then by thinking, and then meditation. It is in this way that you are able to attain and gain insight into emptiness.
가서를 신지 선지니 하고 루루래 다 루루 송도 자체니 아주 따야지 쉽지 가시 뭐래 다 루루기
In terms of teachings on emptiness, Nagarjuna is exceptionally great. He is a masterpiece prophesied by the Buddha himself. Among his disciples, there are great masters like Baba Vivyakar, Buddha Palita, who are masters who wrote masterful commentaries on Nagarjuna's thought.
쉬워서 로비 쉬워서다 세지 투체제들이 이미 인도산에 쉬워서 아니 단계도 시준시 단계도 랑세시에 낭세기 시준시에 미신내기 다 우모버 이 뒤발에 드디 이미 인도산에 금디 아니 우만 나와래 다가는 신기네 이 꿈름 커돌이야 아니 시준 미시바 숭진 이동 그 따와디 셰지 셰셰 예바래
Kamashila is one of the principal students of the abbot Shantarakshita, and who did not accept the external existence. If you are able to study this measured text through proper dialectical discussion of the Tibetan system in monasteries, at least you should read some of this important text, and particularly the great Indian texts. What are the particularities of special insight? They rely on holy persons, as we spoke earlier. It is important to rely on learned guidance and to seriously seek intensive instruction. The very purpose of studying holy texts is not for becoming an academic scholar, nor for becoming an educated person, but you are seeking advice and instruction for personal practice and implementation.
급수법에 더 가인의 찔이야 쌤그 띵네 내버 터버지 제거야 돼. 띠용알이야 수시로 쌤고도 와. 봐. 저 변하지 가서를 전으로 신이 뭐 주바스 다디. 아니 편지에 저 드림이 이르잖아요. 다가다시
The questions of the Nagarjuna Sutras say that through the experience of listening to teachings, you gain wisdom, and with wisdom, destructive emotions are thoroughly pacified. Accordingly, there are two teachings and two types of texts. One which explains the ultimate truth and one which explains the emerging truth. So here, when we talk about the ultimate teaching, it means that on the one hand it should be primarily teaching the ultimate truth, and sometimes it should be literally acceptable. Look at the great saint and scholar Milarepa, who spent his entire life meditating in a dry, empty cave without images of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and so forth. Most of these past great enlightened masters, particularly the Kadampa masters, have achieved a high state of realization through their internal practice. In fact, the Kadampa masters instructed that a real Dharma practitioner should be like a bird. When a bird flies from a rock, nothing is left behind. In our case, wherever we go, we have a lot of things to carry.
제사가 지즈밀레 루지 차도시는 신기회 지 거의 어죽시잖아. 내디 차도 신이 되죠. 쟤는 지즈밀레 가게 영어를 뭐 그런 그 수세 나라리야. 이 자고 창조지. 과만 자고 창조지. 카 창조지. 그다음에 티니 차지는 그 과만 거시기 말다. 카드 차도 신설이. 쟤네 와다 자고 창조를 지. 디즈마다 계속 배좀 가게 매버리. 얘는 싸고 그러시. 지도자네
Relative to this is a story of Milarepa. I would like to explain this to you. When he was meditating in his cave, a thief came to visit him in the night. He looked here and there, and then Milarepa laughed. He said, "How could you find anything in the night when I'm unable to find anything in the day?"
나되기 상동 신라니부터 뭐송네 다 신의 꿈줄라 달라 내저버 신의 뭐버 주번데 토머 리식 도에다 양지니에 달라서 송로 타다니 지신이로 셔와상.
The yogis who are interested in actualizing the calmly abiding mind should initially concentrate on the fact that the two sets of scriptures with sections for sutras can be summarized as all leading to suchness, that is, emptiness. They will lead to suchness and will lead to suchness. The King of Meditation Stabilization Sutra says that with his body, golden color, the Lord of the universe is extremely beautiful. A bodhisattva who places his mind on this object is referred to as one in meditative absorption. Just as darkness is dispelled when light appears, when you realize emptiness or suchness, that realization is like the light. It is this light of knowledge, of emptiness, that one is able to remove the darkness of wrong ways or the darkness of ignorance. Mere calmly abiding meditation cannot purify pristine awareness, nor can it purify the darkness of obscurations. When I meditate properly on suchness with wisdom, pristine awareness will be purified. Only with wisdom can I realize suchness. Only with wisdom can I effectively eradicate obscurations. Therefore, engaging in calmly abiding meditation, I shall research suchness with wisdom, and I shall not be content with calmly abiding meditation alone. We have in the past activated certain levels of calmly abiding meditation and certain types of special insight, of bodily insight. But not having eliminated ignorance, sometimes we are born atop samsara and sometimes at the bottom of samsara. But we are not beyond these cycles of existences. We are unable to cross and to go beyond the cycles of existence. In order to achieve the Dharma of true liberation or nirvana, we must eliminate ignorance. In order to eliminate ignorance, we need to develop wisdom as well as emptiness, because it is this wisdom as well as emptiness that is the direct counterforce for that ignorance as is explained in the text. Loving kindness and compassion, since they are not direct counterforces for ignorance, they cannot eliminate ignorance. So the only tool with which we can eliminate ignorance is wisdom as well as emptiness.
강배 칠로를 아니 하여스lâm 디 핑마와 강배 칠로리야 지 가서로 그게 메다 기세 여스lâm 디
For example, if someone says there exists a ghost in that dark room, in order to remove their fear of the existence of the ghost in that dark room, it is not enough to say that outside of the house there is a deity, that there is a God. The only way to remove the ghost in the darkness, the only way to remove the fear of the presence of that ghost in that dark room, is when we are sure that there is no such ghost existing in that dark room. Similarly, the antidote to ignorance is wisdom, and is knowledge of emptiness or suchness. But what is suchness like? It is the nature of all phenomena, that ultimately they are into personal phenomena. This is realized through the perfection of wisdom and not otherwise. When the misconceived mind focuses on the person and sees it as having an independent existence, that is called grasping of the self of the person. And when that misconceived mind focuses on any other phenomena other than the self, and sees that phenomenon as having an independent existence, that is called the grasping of the self. The independent existence of such a person is an object of negation, because there is no such independent existence of either the person or the phenomenon. Even though there is no such existence, because of our ignorance, because of our misconceptions, we tend to see the person as having independent existence, and we also see the phenomenon as having independent existence. When we employ logic and vision and use our own intelligent wisdom and try to find out about such an independently existent person or phenomenon, we do not find certain existence. In this way, the mode of apprehension of the misconceived mind is stopped or eliminated. But where is this I? Does it exist in the psychophysical aggregate as a whole? Or does it exist in a particular conception? Or does it exist in the present mind or in the present conception? When you analyze and search in this way, you do not find a trace of the I. When we reflect in this way, we will reach a quite interesting point. Thinking on the one hand that there is this illusion of the conventional I, but at the same time, when you search for it, you do not find it. Now, this is clearly proved by the disparity between appearance and reality. The appearance may be something, but the reality may be something else entirely. At the level of appearances, we tend to see the I and phenomenon as having independent existence. But the reality is such that they do not exist independently or objectively. Similarly, it is the case with your body when you say, "This is my body." Where is this, my body? Is your body on the top of your head? Or is your body on the sole of your feet? When you split the body into various parts, you won't find it. The fact of the matter is that the whole and the parts are interrelated. They are dependent on each other. The whole, which is dependent upon the part, when you search the whole, which is independent on the part, you will not find it.
아 동생은 아주 류지 차라마치 자인전에 니암도와 다가는 신그 심 초지 차다 여 말이 균지 차여바 인상 계시 것이 균지 차네 야 삼다바이나 야니암에 되지 차신 셈디 차셰기 균기 때문에
This is also the case with your mind, which, even though it is non-physical, has its continuity. But when you split the various parts of that continuity of that mind, you will not be able to find it. This ability through investigation does not mean the total non-existence of the person. Because if you say that the person does not exist at all, that directly contradicts your day-to-day experience. You know that you're alive, you know that you are breathing, and you know that you're existing. But the manner of existence is such that you do not find it when you search for it. So there was only a conventional existence, a nominal existence.
다가나 나야 믿음을 이메이나 아니 그게 딱든 쎄니 그게 견도 먹을 때 되게 누구만 와.